Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, more gerrymandering. Also, separating truth from propaganda. And patriots are rising.
Extra, extra, read all about it.
It's still news from 1776 to 2025. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by Susan Britt, research guru extraordinaire, and Josh Moon, columnist and investigative reporter at APR, an all-round great guy.
Welcome back, Josh.
Hi, nice to see y'all. How's it going over there?
Well, listen, it's been sunny today, and it could change any minute now. You know, that's one of the things. James Spann would have a heart attack in Greece because they'll tell you it's going to be 62 in the morning all day, and by noon it's 80, and you don't.
And you're sweating through your clothes.
Or vice versa. Vice versa.
It's really funny the things that the Europeans are just kind of unconcerned with, and weather is definitely one of them. They just it is what it is.
Care. They don't care. They don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care. We didn't cover this last week. I definitely wanted to have your thoughts on this, but recently the No Kings, No Crowns protest was a nationwide protest where over 7 million people took to the streets, peacefully protesting what they see as an increasingly authoritarian government coming out of Washington, D.C., and also here in Alabama from Birmingham, Huntsville, Mobile, Montgomery, all over the state.
Connersville even.
Yes, nearly 8,000 people went out to protest No Kings. And Josh, this is in the finest American tradition since before our founding, is to protest the authoritarians who want to control our destiny. And I thought the showing was fantastic.
Yeah, I think that when you see all the numbers of people who are out there in the streets, and the diversity of the people who are out there in the streets, there's a lot of white people, a lot of black folks, a lot of Hispanic people out there all together, kind of marching around. Some of them wearing giant penis costumes, but it was. Listen, it was a diverse group of folks that were out, and I think that there is still, despite the best efforts of some, a lot of value in diversity. I wish. I'll say this: I wish those protests had a more defined objective. We think back to, the people have compared them to the civil rights stuff and the protests back in the 60s and stuff. Well, those things had an objective that they were after. A goal to drive people towards, and I think it would have been very easy with the passion that you see with so many millions of people out in the streets to create an objective that could have changed things, whether it be getting more people registered to vote, whether all of these things that could have gone into making a substantive change in the country. Because I think that right now what you're so slowly seeing is a number of people who are realizing that they're getting screwed over by their government, who is more and more catering to a wealthy class of people that aren't them. And I think if you can harness that You can have something that took place like in the 1920s, hopefully without the depression on the backside of it. But every 100 years or so, we need one of these kind of cleansing things where we bring things back to earth, and we remind people that the majority in America is supposed to rule. And I think that's where we need to have some better focus of these protests and things. It was great. Don't get me wrong. It's great. And I'm not telling anybody to stop protesting, to stop being active, to stop getting out there. Not at all. I just want people to have an objective and to bring more people in. And I think if you have that objective, it helps to kind of coalesce a lot of people that may resist these sorts of things, because they just see it as some of the folks on the other side just see it as folks marching in the streets in funny costumes with funny signs. And those are great. Don't get me wrong. Those are great. I laughed at a lot of them. But I think if you can bring those people in and make people think, that's a lot more important thing.
I think that's a really good point. And hopefully this is just in the beginning stages of what this protest is actually going to evolve into. In that, they're just starting with this. So it's time to maybe, like you said, take a look, see how they can organize, several different objectives, but make sure each protest is around that particular objective.
Yeah.
There's nothing to say that they can't continue with this at all.
Well, I mean, if you look at the original protest that occurred in America, it was no taxation without representation.
Yep.
I mean, it was a very clear message, and you can fast forward to the fact that, like it or not, the no tax movement, what was it called? The Tea Party. The Tea Party had a clear message: taxed enough already. Now they had problems defining what teabagging was in the beginning.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a disaster. Anyway.
Excuse me. They finally got the hang of that. And then you look at Black Lives Matter, and I've never seen a protest movement go so wrong so fast. Not because of Black Lives Matter, but because of the coordinated pushback from the Republican Party. And it has unleashed a barrage of legislation and other things. I mean, like DEI, and these types of backlash came as directly because all of a sudden that protest was about to move a whole group of people forward. And this is what we're seeing too in this No Kings protest. The GOP has come out and tried to reframe it as some kind of communist. They said it was un-American, it was unpatriotic. I mean, Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, Susan said that these were Marxists and terrorists. I mean, no more than John Adams or Jefferson or any of those people were treasonous. Or maybe they worked with the king, but the king was screwing them over. I mean, and the American people are getting screwed over right now.
We have a right to protest right in the Constitution if they bother to read it.
Yeah. It's right there, Josh.
Well, it is, and you're right. It's and I think that's the problem I was talking about with there being a lack of focus on a particular thing here, is because it opens you up. And I think the Black Lives Matter protest is kind of a great example of that. It opens you up for people to redefine what you're doing.
Right.
And I think when you're not clear about what your objectives are, well, then it allows folks to say, well, no, this is what they're actually anti-American. They don't love America.
Right.
They're protesting against America. Where there are lots of things right now. I think, man, you could harness a lot of people. The stuff that's taking place in terms of the bailout with Argentina, the farmers we're going to buy Argentinian beef from beef farmers down there, while our beef farmers are going out of business.
Yeah.
We're in a trade war of our own making for no reason whatsoever, and soybean farmers all over this place are going out of business and losing their farms, and farmers and all throughout Alabama are struggling every single day, and we're bailing out other farmers in other countries. That's those sorts of things. If you can harness those things, you bring in people that are not traditionally part of a progressive movement, and you can let them see the value of what you have to offer. And I think that is where we've got to start making some progress.
And I think that's true. And I think this, what we need is to have messages that run across party lines. That
Sorry, there was seemed like a message in the background there from
it was, believe
the
it or
rooster
not.
that's beside.
I mean, we're in the center of Tinos, Greece.
Right.
You know, it's a very popular tourist destination, and the beautiful, beautiful city, beautiful island, and everywhere there are chickens and goats and everything you can imagine. We feel right home, right down home.
Yeah,
on the farm
I
right
think
here.
that rooster's protested my idea that we're not bailing out Greece in some way or shape or form.
Yeah, well, believe me, the Greek people do not feel like America is bailing them out of anything.
No.
They're just glad that they're 7 hours away from everything we've got. You know, but again, you're very right, Josh. The No Kings protest has a vital voice, but it needs to channel it more. But anyway, we're going to have to leave it right there. You're watching the V, the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back.
Alabama has a hands-free driving law, and that means you can't hold your mobile phone while making a call. Oh, and no writing messages, recording, or watching videos either. Plus, you can only use a single button or swipe of a finger to answer a call. So what's a driver to do? Alabama's hands-free driving law is in effect. Follow it.
Your home is your most valuable asset. But what if someone tried to steal it from you? Property fraud is one of the fastest growing areas of fraud in the country today.
As a district attorney, I've seen firsthand the devastating effects of property fraud. That's why I'm proud to support the Montgomery County Probate Court's REACT program.
REACT is designed to protect your property and to give you peace of mind. By signing up, you'll receive an email notification if a document is filed against your property.
This program is a game changer. It has the potential to prevent fraud and protect countless homeowners throughout Montgomery County.
So don't wait. Sign up for REACT today and protect your home.
Protect your home with REACT. Sign up today.
Welcome back to the V, the voice of Alabama politics. For nearly 60 years, the Voting Rights Act has gradually been eroded from its original meaning. And this is going to be something that men and women bled, died, and sacrificed everything so that we could have this Voting Rights Act. And Josh, it now looks like our conservative Supreme Court has finally figured out how to eliminate the last vestige of keeping the Voting Rights Act intact. And not only will this affect the Louisiana case of Louisiana versus Cooley, but it will also is going to affect Alabama's Mulligan, and it's going to change the face of voting in America in a negative way. And I know their argument is that, you know, the 14th and 15th Amendment, you know, equal protection under the law. But there's a reason that this was enacted, and there's a reason it's still needed. But our Supreme Court majority doesn't seem to see it that way.
Yeah. Well, the reason that it is needed is currently the congressional or the state legislative districts around Birmingham. Go and take a look at those sometime. Go and take a look at the way that they have finagled those districts in a manner in which gives a white minority the majority of seats in Jefferson County, so they can control Jefferson County and control the money. Go and take a look at that, because that is the most egregious aspect of racial gerrymandering that you'll find. I mean, I'm not saying that Birmingham is worse than someplace in Louisiana or someplace in Texas or anything like that. I'm just saying that is the ultimate definition of racial gerrymandering, where you're actually taking the voting power of a whole group, a race of people, and you're minimizing it to the least possible degree in order to maintain control for the white minority in a certain area. That's what's taking place around there, okay? And so whenever anybody talks, like Steve Marshall or any of these other people talk about how it's so awful that we're going to be doing this, we're allowing race-based gerrymandering or race-based district drawing in our country, well, actually what we're doing is we're fighting illegal race-based districting, all right? That's what we're doing with the Voting Rights Act. That's what the Voting Rights Act has always done. And despite all of these arguments about the 14th and 15th Amendment, no one has ever been able to show how any white person has ever been harmed, or their voting right has been diminished, their voting power has been diminished by the Voting Rights Act. It's never happened. It has never happened in the history of this country, and it will never happen.
And I think, and this is something that truly bothers me, Susan, is you have 60 years of precedent, and all of a sudden they find a new reason to strike down things that have been working for decades. And again, people bled, died, marched in the streets with a purpose that black men and women that have a right to vote, and now they're going to find their special loophole as originalists and constitutionalists, and as it's just like they found a reason that Trump and the president no longer has basically immunity to do anything he wants to. I mean, it's just they're making it up as they go.
They are, and let's be honest, they've been looking for 60 years for a way to get around the Voting Rights Act. This is nothing new. That just now they've found something that they can sink their teeth into. Now they can say, well, it goes against the 14th and the 15th Amendment, so it's constitutionally, doable that we can do this. It's not like they've left it alone for 60 years.
No, it's not. But what replaces it is going to be something much worse than we've ever seen, because you're going to see more gerrymandering. I mean, just here in Alabama, if we don't lose 2 congressional seats, we're at least going to lose one that is a majority-minority district or close to it. And Josh, that's not good when you minimize who gets to vote. Because as you and I and Susan have talked about many times, they're choosing the voters. The voters aren't choosing their representatives.
Yeah, no, you're right. And here's the thing is you take a look at the percentages of this state and who's represented where. And we have 7 congressional districts. All right. And you look at the number of black voters in this state, the number of minority voters, the number of voters who would be willing to vote for a candidate of their choosing that's probably not going to be a Republican. You're talking about roughly, let's minimize it down. You're talking about roughly 35%. At the bottom, no one would say that at the bottom levels of this state that we're talking about less than 35% would choose somebody other than a Republican. Right. As we had it prior to the most recent court ruling, only one of our 7 congressional districts was represented by someone other than a Republican. And no one had a chance to win because of the way those districts were drawn. And that 2nd congressional district that we've redrawn that now Shamari Figures holds was held solidly, with no chance of a Democrat winning it, solidly by a Republican because of the way the districts were drawn and were packed all into one congressional district, which Terry Sewell represents Current Steel. So that's the gerrymandering that we're talking about here. And so all of these fantasy ideas and all of these fantasy stories and all of this BS about how we're doing these different things and how this needs to happen, all of it is about minimizing the input of certain voters, okay? That's all it's ever been about, and it's all it's ever going to be about.
And it would be so easy to fix if we had voting commission, redistricting commissions, and doing things like making a holiday for people to go out and vote. But they don't want to do that because the whole purpose of this is control, to give one group control over another group and, in fact, over the nation. Because if this goes through, there'll be more red seats in Congress than there will be blue, because they're going to write black voters out of the picture. But we're going to have to leave it right there. You're watching The V, the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back.
Alabama has a hands-free driving law, and that means you can't hold your mobile phone while making a call. Oh, and no writing messages, recording, or watching videos either. Plus, you can only use a single button or swipe of a finger to answer a call. So what's a driver to do? Alabama's hands-free driving law is in effect. Follow it.
Welcome back to The V, the voice of Alabama politics. You know, we've been talking about this for quite some time. Me, you, Josh, Jonathan. And we're getting ready to expand some of our offerings on YouTube and on X and on TikTok so that our viewers can get more information from us and from the show. The show's not going to change. The show's going to stay the same. But what we're doing is projecting forward so that we can provide the same trusted news and opinion, but also broaden the format. So just a heads up, that's on the horizon. Y'all want to chime in on that? That'd be great.
Yeah. No, listen, we're doing it for the kids. Everything I do is for the kids. And when they told me that there was an opportunity to do TikTok, I thought, well, my God, that's something for the kids would love to see. If there's anything the youngins love on the TikTok, it's listening to an older bald man talk about politics. And so I think that we'll draw some folks in. We've done very well with our podcast. The Alabama politics this week, and and I think that we can do the same sort of things with this. I think folks like the little shorter clips, the little shorter bursts. They can share them around with their friends, and either say, "Hey, these people know what they're talking about," or "Look at these idiots," whatever. It makes that really easy.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. I mean, we're moving toward a more digital formats, and I think that's of course where the future of all of this is going anyway.
Yeah, I mean,
so it's
100 years ago when we started APR, we started as a digital format, and we were the only people doing it in Alabama.
Yeah,
so
that's
It
true.
was
That's true.
pretty amazing. This is still the #1 political show in Alabama, and it is the longest running political show in Alabama, and we're going to keep it that way. Yeah. But just letting you know, stay tuned. There's going to be some things that we're doing
positive changes.
and that are going to be very exciting for all of us, and probably make more work for us, but there you go.
That's unusual. We used to work.
Yeah. But we have been working while we've been in Greece, and we've also been vacationing. This will be our last show from Greece, and we will not tell you where we're going yet, but we are going home soon. But we have one more stop to make. But Josh and his family got to go to England and France recently, and Josh, we've all been sharing how the little differences, the really cool things that are different about Europe from the United States, and some things that are just quite frankly irritating.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, it's a very it's an interesting experience. I'd never been over in Europe before, and so we went to Paris, went to London. My wife, my daughter, and some other family went with us as well, and just hung out. It was really for my wife's birthday, and so we just kind of hung out for a week. We went on a normal length vacation, but but look, we all like vacations. Y'all have waited a long time to do this, and so it's been a nice trip for y'all. And so there's no shade from this side, obviously, but it is there are some differences. Look, I think there are a lot of things that America has gotten right that I think Europe could catch up with. But I think there are also some things over there And I had a nice conversation with a guy from Oklahoma while we were standing waiting on our wives and daughters to do things, shop. And we were talking about just, the difference of the feel there and where everybody is not really so caught up in politics and fighting all the time. And I think that their political system that they have has worked pretty well for them. You see Parliament and you see the way that they shout at one another, and this was in London, by the way, and so it just is it's a different sort of system, but also there are certain things that the public transportation system that they have in those cities, the health care that they have throughout those countries over there, where it's just. It just is an idea of putting people over profits. That's the way they have kind of focused a lot of their attitudes towards different things. No, I'm not saying it's that way throughout the entirety of those countries at all. I mean, there's certainly we paid a lot for dinner at times, and so somebody's making some money over there, and we went shopping in Paris, and so I know somebody's making some money on that. They got something in mind.
It's a whole lot cheaper in Greece.
Yeah, well, I can assure you, so I get, the capitalist system and ideas are alive and well in a lot of those places, but at the same time, they're healthier. I think that we can prove that through statistics, and I think it's simply because so often that you're seeing them get the care that they need early on to address more minor issues that don't then turn into catastrophic problems later in life. They learn how to deal with stuff. They learn how to do different things. And I'll say this as well. One of the things that we noted, all of us, independently of each other, we all brought up at one time or another, was the attitude of the service people that we dealt with. And to a person, it was starkly better than it has been, especially of late in America. And look, all the people in America didn't just decide to be jackasses overnight. Okay? that didn't happen. It happens because these people are frustrated with their lives. They're frustrated with the lack of pay.
Yeah.
They're frustrated that their paychecks don't pay for their rent and their utilities and things. They're frustrated that they can't have that they're not living a life that they want to, even though in many cases, those people have done everything that we've told them to do to acquire the American dream. They've studied hard. They've gone to college. They've done they've worked hard, and they still aren't making ends meet. Not because of some poor decision that they've made, but because of the way we've done things in this country to a certain degree. And we've got to change that. And that's one of the things I've talked about with those protests earlier. If we start focusing on those people, then we can make some changes.
I think one of the things, speaking about servers here, the servers here are some of the nicest people you'll ever meet. And you know what? There's really no tipping.
No,
they don't live.
Same.
They don't live on tips. And they don't have to worry about health care because they have it.
They do, but I will say another thing over here that I've noticed. They stay out of each other's business.
Yeah, they do stay out of their business.
The government stays out of their business. They stay out of each other's business. They don't concentrate on politics so much. They're not as stressed as United States citizens because they mind their own business.
Well, and who does stay in their business is their mothers. Because Greek mothers are always
I've got a new
in
one.
their children's
Ooh, let me tell you.
business. But we're going to have to leave it right there. You've been watching the voice of Alabama politics. You watch us because we watch them.